I guess. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Mondays with Mark. I am Mark on your favorite YouTube channel, SmokeySteveAndMarc. Let's see. So today's Monday, and it is Mondays with Mark. And I know that usually Mondays with Mark is a little, mostly lighthearted and fun and whimsical, and we're either doing a craft project or we're cooking or baking or something. But I thought today's edition would be a little more serious. Steven filmed a video last week about caring for, a loved one who might be sick, and the first part of that was his side of it. And then I was going to do a video about my side of it. So I think that's what we'll do tonight. And the timing is pretty good too, because of some things that have happened in the last week and everything. And I had a doctor's appointment today and stuff. So, but we'll get into all that. But anyway, I just wanted to say that it's very nice to see you, and thank you very much for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it. So the topic was supporting, dealing with a loved one or a partner who might be sick, and what you can do. I'm going to start the beginning of this talking a little bit about me, because I really wanted to focus more on Steven. But I have to give you a little bit of background about myself and what has happened, because I shared with you some medical things with me in the past, and last week I had some tests that I had to get done, and then I had a doctor's appointment today that I was waiting a long time for, and I thought I would update you on that first. I did have all my tests done last week. I had some blood work done, a urinalysis, and some x-rays and stuff done, and they all came back. And this appointment today was with the rheumatologist, and I'm a little bit torn about the results, because there actually are no results in the same position I was before playing the waiting game. Now, I will say all the tests came back great. Like, my blood work is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is just wonderful. And I don't know if I was hoping for something, worse or whatever. I just wanted to have some kind of definitive answer today. He started me off on a medication about what I thought was 6 months ago. This was supposed to be my 6-month appointment today. And apparently this type of medication, it's Palaquino, if anybody else knows about it or is on it, you reach the full effects of it by 6 months. So, I thought that this was my 6-month marker, and it wasn't. He did prescribe it in October, but I couldn't tolerate it too well, so we gradually increased the dosage. So the maximum dosage I did start in December, so I do have 2 more months to go before he can definitively, make some decisions or whatever. However, I will say, and my doctor did agree with me, that I'm tolerating the medication very well. I haven't had a flare-up since January with the RA. So, in my book, that's a positive thing. I am much better off today than I was 6 months ago. So we'll go with that. I just wish I would have had a little bit of a, closure, definitive answer, official diagnosis, something like that, so we could move forward. But an important thing that I realized today, I'm always talking about acceptance and everything. I just have to accept the fact that my life is a little bit different than it was before, and that's the way that it's going to be. I don't, think that I'm going to get back to the way I was in my 20s or anything like that, But as long as I have a good quality of life, and I can get through every day, I'll be happy with that. So, no new answers, nothing new with my treatment. I wasn't diagnosed with anything else. It's going to continue on for 2 more months, and then I do have another appointment. I do have a couple other appointments before then with the eye doctor and stuff, but we can talk about that another time. But anyway, I'm okay, and I've accepted that, and everything is really good. Talking about, caring for a loved one who is sick, I kind of just broke it up into 3 parts: past, present, and future. And since Steven and I are together, I'm going to focus it, all on him. When I first was diagnosed, this was about a year and a half ago. I had some medical problems that we had to deal with, and Stephen actually made me go to the doctor. I didn't want to go. And it seemed like since that point, so many other things have popped up with me medically. And when I had the diagnosis of RA and osteoarthritis and a couple other diagnoses, I thought, I wanted to run away because, they're all progressive. There's really not a good ending to any of those, and eventually, I'm going to need care of some sort. So, in my mind, that was going to all happen within 6 months. I was going to be in a wheelchair. I was going to need fed by hand and everything, and I jumped the gun, and, my first thought was, I put myself in Stephen's position, and you know, I just wanted to run away like I do, escapism, because I didn't want him to have to take care of me. And it really, really bothered me. Like, I didn't want to have that happen. And until somebody, and it was my therapist who I've been seeing for quite some time now, she said to me, Mark, what if Steve came home and told you he had cancer? Or, what if he said he had, RA or maybe MS or something like that and needed care? What would you do? And I said, well, it'd be a no-brainer. I'm here. I would do what I needed to do to take care of him. Of course I would, And she's like, okay. And she just stopped. She's like, okay. And I'm like, oh, I see what you're saying. So, talking about the past, of course, I didn't tell him, when we first got together that I had some kind of disease or medical issue that I may need care for later. I didn't know at that point, and he didn't either. It's not like, oh, it's a decision I have to make whether or not I'm going to start dating this person, like that type of thing. This happened far into our relationship. We were together like years by then before I was diagnosed. And when I learned about his diagnosis, and the difference between him and I, his is more mental illness than physical. Mine is more physical than mental, although we both have both physical and mental issues that we're dealing with. I had to learn a lot about mental illness and bipolar and eating disorders and all those type of things, because I didn't understand any of it, and I did. I learned about it, and I experienced it firsthand with Stephen through the years, and I kind of grew into it, so to speak, but it never changed my feelings for him. And today we try to help each other out. And how I help Stephen out is, when I see that he's having a bad day of some sort, I have to determine whether or not the best course of action is to completely back off and give him space and let him have time to himself, or if I need to, say, intervene in some way, maybe bring something to his attention that he didn't notice. Perhaps he's doing a behavior that he didn't notice, or whatever, And those times that I did that, he didn't realize it, and he was able to recognize that, and it actually helped. So that's the first thing that I do when something happens with him. I have to determine what the course of action will be, and a lot of times it is, I got to give him his space. I don't want to, neb into what's going on. I don't want to poke him. I just give him his space. And sometimes that's what he needs. And sometimes that's what helps. He's more of an introvert. I'm more of an extrovert. He recharges by having time to himself. I am opposite. I need engaged with somebody, So that's what I do first, is I determine what needs to be done. And then I have to, if action needs to take place, if I have to say something or do something, then I have to do that, and if things are really bad, I have to make the determination of whether or not to get a professional involved or not. It's happened once in our relationship, and we did it, and it was the right decision at that point, but none of these decisions are easy to make. But, I believe that when you're in a loving, committed relationship, that like, you do those things, without question. I will say, a note of advice, if you want to call it that, is that, when you're caring for somebody who may be sick in some way, physically, mentally, whatever, I do believe you have to take care of yourself first. I think that you have to, because if you're both sick, like if, I'm not going to be able to help Steven if I'm sick, Now, don't get me wrong, we have days where we're both not doing well, but most of the time it evens out. He's having a bad day, I'm having an okay day, and I can kind of help him. I'm having a bad day, he's having an okay day, and he can pull me out of it, but, and taking care of myself just means that I need to have time to myself, making sure that I'm healthy, making sure that I can do the things that I need to do, in order to help somebody else. But, I mean, pretty much that's what I do now, not that I'm on guard 24/7. We've fallen into a very nice routine, but we know each other's personalities well enough now that I know when something's not right with him. And I pretty much know when to back off or when to intervene now. But it took quite some time to figure that out. I mean, I will say. But never once did I think that it was a burden, and never once did I regret getting into a relationship with someone who might need help. That never ever crossed my mind, ever. When he goes and does his, support is a big thing. When he goes and, like he did in the last year with his weight loss journey, I try to support him the best I can, encourage him on, support him. When he has maybe some mental health days where he's not doing well, I try to be like happy and upbeat and try to get him out of it too, And a lot of times it's drawing it out of him too. I have to say what's going on, and most of the time the answer is I don't know what's going on. So we talk about it, One thing that has worked with me is that when something is exposed, a lot of the power is taken out of it. And it took a long time to realize that too. So I try to do that for my own health as well. And when something is not right, I try to speak about it. I try to say it out loud, and that seems to take a little bit of the edge off of it. And then it opens the channel for, that you can discuss in and seek out help if you need it, So, I mean, really, I think that it comes down to, the status of your relationship as well, I think that if you're in a loving, committed relationship, it wouldn't even, there wouldn't be a decision to be made whether or not to kind of take care of somebody who might need help if they're sick. The future, I do think about the future for the both of us sometimes. I worry about myself, I worry about my physical self, and if I'm going to need care someday, or if I'm going to be in a wheelchair, and the burden that will bring to my partner. But when I think about Steven, I think that that's just part of what's going to happen, and I don't worry about it so much outside of the fact that I worry how he's feeling, and because of course I don't want him to be uncomfortable, and I don't want him to be sick at all. But these issues, mental health, and these physical issues that we have are long-term, they're chronic, and they're going to progress. So I do worry about, what we're going to need to do in the future. But I also know that there's help out there, and I also know that we are very stable, and we can make a decision together whether or not we need to bring a professional in, whether or not, God forbid, it ever comes to the time that we might need, like, to go into a facility or something like that. I think about those things. But, sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's not, but all the times it's pretty incredible because, I think that love and commitment kind of trumps all of this. And I think that if you, truly love somebody, that you'll do whatever you need to do to support that person when they're sick. And like I am thinking back on what I've talked about, I don't know if any of this makes sense or if I was on point or not, but you know, those are just my kind of views on supporting and taking care of someone who might not be sick. Steven has really supported me and taken care of me during this time and all the time we've been together. And I'm very grateful for that. And the best that I can do is give that back to him. And, you know, I pledged to do that. So, you know, another little thing that we have together is that we're both addicts, you know, so I tend to worry about that too. But, you know, you can't dwell on what ifs, and you cannot dwell on what you don't know is going to happen. So, I don't know. I hope that I covered the topic okay. I don't know. If you have any comments, please leave them below, because I think this is a very good topic to talk about. I really thank you for watching, and I thank you for spending your time with me. And the next video, I have some exciting things in work. Will be a little more upbeat, maybe a little more hands-on. But again, thank you so much for watching. I hope I made sense. I don't know if I did. I'll have to watch the video and see. And please subscribe to us, SmokeySteveAndMarc. And please follow us on Facebook too. Hit the friend request, and we'll accept your friend request. And follow us on Instagram too. Thank you all. Have a good night.